everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Faerie Conclave. This is episode 74, and I'm your host, Alec. My pronouns are he, him. And joining me on the line is an extra special guest today. It's Bobbie-Christine. How are you doing today, Bobbie-Christine?
Hello, I'm doing wonderful. My pronouns are she, her. I'm so glad to be here and to geek out about a deck that I love for a while.
Yes, I am super excited for this one. It's really unique. We were kind of talking a little bit before we started recording, but it's a deck I kind of want to build, so I'm excited to talk about it. And before we get into it, though, let's do our community spotlight, which is perfect because today I wanted to shout out the Scrap Trawlers, which are on Twitch and YouTube and do streaming and lots of Commander content. And fortunately for me, you are one of them, Bobbie-Christine, one of the Scrap Trawlers.
The Scrap Trawlers, that sounds familiar. Yes, I am 1/4 of the Scrap Trawlers. The Scrap Trawlers are Andy Zupke, Nick, also known as Plaidclad, Johnny's Gay Pride Mate, also known as Lenny, and myself. We play budget EDH every Sunday on Twitch, and we are also looking to boost our YouTube and get our bulk bin combo videos out there. You should check those out. They're combos that will win you a game of Magic for like under $1. It's really sweet stuff. This Sunday we got a game coming up where the budget restriction is always $50, but we like to put a little twist on top of it as well. And we've all built decks with the limitation of a partner commander that is only one partner.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so we keep it weird, and yeah, Scrap Trawlers are the best. You guys should come check it out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm a big fan, and we'll have links to Scrap Trawlers content and stuff in the episode description. But yeah, so that sounds like a really cool restriction.
Thanks for the spotlight.
Oh yeah, anytime. So I guess I kind of skipped over it, but I love doing a community spotlight because there are tons of really cool content creators out there, and a lot of especially like smaller ones that we want to give more awareness of. So yeah, I'm glad that you let us shout you out.
Thanks.
I've sometimes thought about some of the partner commanders. I feel like having them not have partner in a lot of cases could make them like more interesting, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of weird to think that removing something makes them more interesting, but yeah, kind of like you feel obliged to run a partner with them, and at that point sometimes it's, yeah, I guess less interesting. So I really like that restriction. That's fun.
The restriction builds a lot of creativity. I find that I actually have more fun. I just have more fun building a deck with the restriction. With the cards that I like kind of currently own, I have a lot of like, I've got my bulk, Yeah. And so I had the partner commander. It was Sylvar. I'm building Sylvar, and it was just like, okay, so we're just doing like Rakdos humans, and having the entire white section of humans not to look through was somehow kind of fun. Like it really just like, okay, I could just like check my Rakdos cards, check the black cards, and check the red cards, and like, this is the pool that I'm working with, and how much can I optimize with this? And that ends up being a lot more fun to me than like building up a true like Trin and Sylvar kind of combo Mardu like value package. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I feel like you probably also, when you're cutting out white for humans, you probably can find some really like cool and interesting black and red humans that you wouldn't normally ever think about in a deck like that. So yeah, that's really cool.
You got to get weird with it, and some cards get to shine that don't normally get to shine. And that's like literally my Carth the Lion deck is like that restriction is why I had a blast with it, because it's like, well, who are the Golgari planeswalkers? And that's like that's what I got to work with. I don't have to think about literally any planeswalker that's not colorless old Golgari, and like optimizing with that pool of cards is one of the reasons I love it.
Yeah, I think it is very similar because white, I think, has there aren't a lot of these, but white has a few like kind of planeswalkers matter type of cards and stuff like that.
They do, yeah.
So yeah, cutting that out and just not having access to that, I think makes it more interesting and exciting to build around. And oh, and that actually spoiled it a little bit, but today we're doing a commander deck interview, and I'm going to be interviewing your Carth the Lion deck, Bobbie-Christine, which I'm super excited about. Yeah, oh, but before we dive into the questions I've got for you, I know you have some other kind of content and Magic related stuff you're working on besides Scrap Trawlers. Would you like to give us a little bit of a introduction to that as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think there's a few things that I love to share. First, of course, is my Twitch. I have episodes of Spell Fables on Twitch where I try to curate amazing game nights for people to partake in and enjoy and watch. And aside from that, I also have the Check Your Bulk podcast where me and Lynn Frake discuss our perspective on EDH and what EDH means to us and like the kind of experience that we love and that we want to share with other people. And we call it Check Your Bulk because at the end of every episode, we go through our bulk and we select special cards that are cheap, that are probably laying around in your bulk, that have an extra spicy effect or something that you just may be missing. So check out the Check Your Bulk podcast. Check out the Spell Fables on Twitch and YouTube. Gosh, I
Got a lot
oh,
going
and
on.
yeah, of course. I knew there was a third one. Every
Mm.
Wednesday on the Bobbie-Christine Livi Discord, I have game days with my community from 2 p.m. Until the pods stop. So we try to get things buzzing in there, and it's usually a great time. And I'm trying to cultivate a healthy environment for EDH where games come together, where people aren't, you know, feeling too salty, and it's just a good time. So
That's awesome. I think that's all of that is really important, and yeah, so we'll include links to all those things down in the episode description. But yeah, I really like the check your bulk philosophy, just because Magic it tends to be so expensive, especially lately. I feel like each set like the cards recently released are more expensive than the last. So yeah, it's really important to kind of keep budget in mind and check your bulk, and you never know when there are going to be cards in there that you might have forgotten about that'll be perfect for that new deck you're building.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think budget's important to focus on. I know a lot of people say you can proxy, which of course you can. But a lot of people like to just play with the game pieces at hand and,
Yeah.
like a printed out kind of flimsy, like office paper. It just doesn't feel as good as a card. So
Yeah, I feel similar. I love, and I'm totally for using proxies, but there is something about having like a real life Magic card, and also I think just working with budget restrictions kind of adds a lot of creativity too. So yeah, okay, I am very excited to get into this. So let's do it. I have the first question for you, which is, who is your commander? What does it do? And what inspired you to build this deck in the first place?
excellent questions. My gosh, I've already gone on like 10 tangents, I feel, about it. My commander is today that I've chosen is Carth the Lion. This is a 4 cost Golgari commander, a 3/5. When he enters the battlefield or a planeswalker I control dies, look at the top 7 cards in my library. I can reveal a planeswalker from among those cards and put it into my hand. The rest will go on bottom. He has a second ability. Planeswalker loyalty abilities you activate cost an additional +1 loyalty to activate. And this is so interesting because this little icon of +1, I don't think it appears on a single other card.
Yeah, it's very strange to look at.
I chose this because it was actually a natural upgrade to a previous deck that I had. I actually had been running Golgari Planeswalkers
Mm.
for a year before Carth the Lion came out under Ishkana Graph Widow.
Oh, nice, the Spider Commander.
Yep. So the goal then was to fill the graveyard, be able to recur the planeswalkers, but also fill the graveyard to trigger Ishkana's delirium ability to give me the reaching spiders and this wall of spiders to protect the planeswalkers.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like I hadn't really realized it until just now, but I appreciate that Carth is a 3/5 to really like give you some planeswalker defense. I think that's one of
Yes.
the worst things to run into when you're playing planeswalkers in Commander is, yeah, not having enough like big defense for
His
protecting them.
his big butt has come into play in such a way that like I went through many Golgari legendary creatures to find the right creature for my Golgari Super Friends deck before Carth came out. And I ended up settling on Ishkana because of the big butt. Like it ended up being the most useful like part hands down. And Carth, like they printed Carth, and I was like, look at that big butt. Like, what is this guy for real? Is this card for real?
Right? It kind
All
of
my dreams came true.
yeah, yeah, it kind of reads like a custom card in some ways, like just yeah, a very unique
Uh-huh.
ability we've never really seen interact with planeswalker abilities that way before. It's I also really like that. It's kind of funny sometimes how that happens where like an archetype isn't really supported, like Golgari planeswalkers before Karth. There's like nothing really tying them together.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you kind of put a deck together already with that in mind, and like made it work, and then they released a commander that was like perfect for that. I think that's
I
so funny.
couldn't I couldn't believe it. I was like, is this like really? Like, did they print this for me? I don't know any other Golgari Planeswalker players. And I'm like wondering who at Wizards is behind the scenes, like hanging out, like who had a Golgari Planeswalker deck who was just like, man, nothing's working.
Right, yeah, it definitely feels like that with some of the legendaries in the like Modern Horizons sets and Commander Legends, where there are a lot of weird ones. It's like only somebody behind the scenes who's trying to build a commander deck around this would have made this card. That's awesome. Okay, so I love that. My next question is, what is this deck's history and what changes has it gone through? So besides switching commanders, is there anything else, any other kind of changes you've made to it since you first started playing it?
Let's see. Well, I guess the super origin before it was Ishkana Super Friends, it was Ishkana Spider Tribal. So at some strange point in history, this is some like this like the heart of this deck was a spider deck. And then I was like, okay, what else can I do with Ishkana? And then it became a Planeswalker deck. And then Carth the Lion came out. And then I was like, okay, I think it's time to just get a doubling season. Maybe we should go
Yeah,
ahead and grab Vorinclex. And maybe this will just be one of those decks that I warn people about when I bring it to the table.
makes sense.
So over time, I kind of have been intentionally like shoving some of my gassier cards, so to speak, into it. He had a demonic tutor for a little while. The way I build decks is I have a copy of demonic tutor, so I kind of decide where it goes. And at a certain point, he was getting all of my best black cards. But I ended up giving demonic tutor to my Kalia deck because she had a demonic theme, so it felt right.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But he still has the remnants of some of my best black cards in my collection, like Toxic Deluge, which just wipes creatures out at a whim and leaves my planeswalkers completely just unscathed. It's bananas.
That's perfect. Yeah, it's the more I think about it, the more it totally makes sense that uh, Ishkana starting as like a spider deck, um, but I feel like there aren't really enough spiders to fill out the whole deck. So you're like, okay, well these things are perfect for defense. Let's throw in some planeswalkers, and then yeah, I love how slowly over time it's like, oh, actually the planeswalker thing is a little more interesting. Like there's more going on
Absolutely.
there.
Somehow spiders unlocked my love for planeswalkers.
Yeah, yeah, I really like it too because I think the Golgari planeswalkers are some of my favorites. Like Liliana has always been a favorite of mine. Vraska is always so much fun. I love Vraska's ultimate abilities.
Yes,
Yeah.
Vraska is a big reason why I ended up doing planeswalkers because I started not quite started playing, but one of the the big memories I have when I was younger of playing was around Return to Ravnica. And I went into the LGS and I just grabbed the little pack. Little Bobbie's like, I want a pack of cards. And I opened the pack of cards back out in the car. And I opened Vraska the Unseen. It was like the first Planeswalker I ever opened in my life. And I freaked out and I ran back into the store and I was like, look, everybody.
I love that.
So I just had a ton of love for Vraska in my heart. And I was like, well, how do we optimize Vraska the Unseen? Karuk also has a soft place in my heart because I started playing in Lorwyn. Liliana as well. I've got the whole suite of Lilianas. Well, not the whole suite, but the best ones.
The spicy ones, yeah. Yeah, I love it. I've always liked Vraska ever since the Ixalan stories where her and Jace were like this will they won't they, they're like pirating around Ixalan and it's super romantic and then they ended up separating ways and it was very dramatic. I always appreciated that storyline quite a bit and that
was absolutely a highlight. That was very precious.
And I just loved it because the Vraska Planeswalker where she's a pirate is so good and the Jace Planeswalker where he is a pirate and also doesn't have a shirt is so good and I always liked both of them since then.
The Vraska pirate Planeswalker, I genuinely there are so many games where I am hoping to top deck her because her removal is so useful. I would like to have that card almost every game. And she seems kind of clunky, but once Carth the Lion is out on the field, it cranks everything up.
Yeah. Let's get into that. So I remember a lot of confusion when Carth first came out because it does kind of read pretty weird. But just like as an example, so if you played Vraska Relic Seeker, the pirate one, and then immediately +2'd, it would actually be just straight up +3 instead. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Enter with 6 loyalty, and then the way as a pilot of the deck, it's been tricky to kind of lay it out. I would for a while I would say I'm gonna +2 with Carth, that'll be +3, or like eventually I just skip to I'm gonna +3, and I just do the math automatically, and I try to just let people know that when I say that I'm activating a loyalty ability, the number includes Carth's ability.
Gotcha.
So this +2 is now a +3, which throws out the balance that the developers inherently put into the Planeswalkers.
Right.
Totally out of whack.
Yeah.
And it cracks some of the Planeswalkers wide open. She comes in with 8 loyalty. She's so healthy and a blocker.
Yeah, that's a lot of these Planeswalkers are. I could see just even that like adding a point to their like minus ability is gonna be really cool for some of these. I'm obsessed. Like Soren Markov doing the -3 to make an opponent's like total 10, but it's actually only -2, so you still have 2 left over.
Absolutely. We were on Vraska just now, but she's like an excellent example. A -3 ability, you're intended to only do it 2 times. You get a third complete rotation of that removal ability.
Yeah, that is cool.
One of my favorite examples of how it just cracks the Planeswalker right open is Nissa, I think Vital Force, who comes in with 5 loyalty. Carth affects the cost of the negative counts, so her -6 costs -5, allowing you to cast Nissa and ult instantly.
Okay, that's cool.
It feels good every time.
Yeah, and especially with doubling season 2, I bet if you have all of those out, you're really just getting ultimates all over the place.
That's the dream.
I'll get into my next question, which is just what do you like most about playing this deck? Like, what brings you the most joy out of it?
I think what brings me the most joy is, as a player, I just kind of love permanence. And as a human, I like feeling surrounded by friends. So these kind of just coalesce into this perfect deck where I have just filling the board with permanence, and they're all my allies. Like, it just feels really nice. It just, I don't know, having the team, having my squad out here in cardboard form is quite enjoyable for me. And I like that it's so diverse. You know, this like you got a spider queen, you got a Golgari queen, you got a Gorgon, you got a dude, you got a like a gruffy, angry guy.
Yes.
You got a bug, some kind of bug god in
Yeah. I
Grist.
was gonna say whatever the hell Grist is. You've got
You got a
that.
you got a hot goth lady, and you got Carth himself. It makes me quite happy. Makes me happy to assemble the Avengers.
Yeah, that is quite the lineup too. I love that squad.
It's like the swampy Avengers, though.
Yeah, the like underworld Avengers.
Yeah.
That's good. I feel like a lot of planeswalkers also create tokens or do some kind of interaction with
Yes.
creating token
Absolutely.
creatures. So I think
Yep. I've got my friends, and then they have all their minions.
yep. And I appreciate Lilth Spider Queen still bringing that kind of like spider flavor that used to be in the deck.
Yes, absolutely. Ishkana lived in the 99 for the longest time, but she finally got cut
Mm,
because there was a literal spider queen right here.
yeah, makes sense. The flavor's still there though, and that's what is important.
Absolutely. Ishkana actually super duper lives on. Small tangent. I have they printed Ishkana Broodmother, I believe her name is, in Arena as
Oh,
a arena only card, and it was like really, like, you're gonna print a new Ishkana and it's not even gonna be a paper card. As a paper player, it was pretty disappointing.
yeah.
But thanks to listener alters, he created a version, a proxy version of the card, and as a gift, uh, I granted me this card, and I was able to make a arena only card in real life of Ishkana
Nice.
Broodmother, and I made a spider deck. And what Ishkana Broodmother does is allow you to have a spell book full of spiders
Oh,
and spider spells. So like I've taken an arena only concept and made a full, complete, brand new, actual Golgari spider deck. So Ishkana lives on quite strongly,
that's
actually,
amazing.
in her own super unique spellbook Golgari spider deck that I enjoy to bring out.
I really like that. And yeah, I also have been disappointed by some of the like online only cards that are like functionally unique like that. And so I love that you created a physical version and just like made it work in real life. And
It's a blast.
yeah,
The deck is really bad because spiders suck, but it's, you know what? I love it. It's perfect.
yes, it's the thought that counts. And yeah, I love that. And it's also kind of funny because you're like, this is an actual like Wizards of the Coast made this card. I just had to like print it out myself. But yeah, I like that a lot. That is really cool. We'll have to talk about that deck next time.
For sure.
Sweet. Okay, so for Carth, what exactly are kind of the goals of this deck? Like, what are you looking to achieve every time you sit down to play it?
I, aside from ramping, am going to cast Carth as soon as possible. Like it's his ability is just so absurd.
Yeah.
He's just got to get out there as soon as possible. And even if he's removed, as long if I can get the ETB, if I can get his enter the battlefield trigger, I can get a planeswalker in my hand. And my 5-drop planeswalker slot is very vital, and my 6 drops planeswalker slot is very vital. So it's ramp, Carth, planeswalkers.
Gotcha.
It's very straightforward. But once that is established, um there's a few sneaky ways to go for the win. One of my favorite is the Elder spell, in which I sacrifice my own planeswalkers to supercharge one planeswalker. That's definitely one of the winners. And the goal is to get a planeswalker ultimate. Just outright. That's why shamelessly Vorinclex and the doubling season are here. It's just like I'm just
Yeah.
trying to ultimate, because when I get a planeswalker ultimate, I'm probably gonna win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool how Carth kind of fills in all of the gaps that planeswalkers normally have in Commander. Like that enters the battlefield, draw or look at the top 7 for a planeswalker. That's so many cards.
It says 7. It's ridiculous.
I cannot believe it's 7 cards. That's just so many. And you've got about 21 planeswalkers in this deck. So I can't do the math right now, but I'm sure the chances of hitting at least one in 7 is pretty high.
The ability in essence says enter the battlefield, draw a random planeswalker. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and that's kind of you might have all these setup cards for planeswalkers and then not have one, so that helps you there. But then just protecting your planeswalkers so you can get them to ultimates, and then adding the +1 thing so you get to your ultimates faster. It's just really cool. I think it adds so much to the planeswalker strategy and makes it really strong, I bet.
Even if the goal of the game isn't an explicitly I'm gonna take you out kind of game, I always at least get to be a huge pain in the butt. Being the ordeal of are we gonna leave that there? We gotta kill the planeswalker. I like putting people in that puzzle a little bit.
Yeah, you're kind of creating a little mini game for them. Okay, do I spend resources to try to stop that Professor Onyx from going off, or try to continue my own thing? Yeah, it's fun.
There's kind of that adage of people would say planeswalkers typing is weak in Commander, and I just never agreed with that. I always felt they were very strong in Commander. It's okay, you go for my planeswalkers, that means you're not going for me.
Right.
They're sponges. They're little just engines of nonsense and power.
Yeah, and I think that every planeswalker, or for the most part, the planeswalker will have around 2 abilities that you can activate right off the bat. So you'll always get kind of a selection of effects that you might need at any given moment. And all of these planeswalkers you have some of them have removal, some of them can create tokens. There's card draw on a lot of these. So you can get a lot of kind of various effects depending on what you need at the time.
I decided to be a pain in the butt with fogs too.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's good.
You know what? Go ahead. Attack them. Go for it.
I totally don't have a fog in my hand. Yeah, I have seen I feel like there's a really mean way to build planeswalkers where you load the deck up with creature board wipes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of appreciate you have the average number of board wipes that any deck would play, and you aren't relying on kind of keeping the board empty, because I find those kind of strategies sometimes a bit frustrating to play against. But
that is certainly one way to lean into my strategy, is to keep wiping the boards. But as a deck designer, I like to be very powerful, but just not overwhelmingly so. I like to be an obstacle, a battle, but not one that is just insurmountable. So once I had the Damnation and the Toxic Deluge, I considered these the 2, and of course Ugin.
Oh yeah.
Once I had Ugin and Damnation and Toxic Deluge, 3 of hands down some of the best board wipes ever printed, I was okay, we're good. That's fine.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I play around 3 board wipes in all of my decks. And Ugin, I don't know if Ugin counts just because it's a planeswalker, so of course you're gonna play that.
Right? Come on.
So yeah,
I got it.
I like that. Yeah, and I think I agree. I do think planeswalkers are under appreciated in Commander. Honestly, just throw out a couple creatures with 5 toughness, and your planeswalkers will be fine.
They are often fine thanks to Carth himself. I am shocked. You mentioned there's more arguably obnoxious or frustrating ways to take this. You could cram it with board clears. I find the frustrating way to take a planeswalker deck is to include white. I found the white planeswalkers are the ones with the ults that make the game suck. I feel this is obviously quite subjective, but I feel my Golgari ultimates, they're gonna they'll punch through, they'll get the game done, they'll get you knocked out. the white planeswalker ultimates are just like, teehee, you can't touch me at all now. Like, I'm just gonna sit
Yeah.
here and be unstoppable. But not like in an aggressive way, and just like a impenetrable wall kind of way.
Right. Yeah, I've totally noticed that. I recently put a Planeswalker sub-theme in my Queen Marchesa deck, and which has access to white. And I just like all of the Gideon Planeswalkers. I was like, I mean, these are good, but I just don't want this ultimate at all. Where like, yeah, there's like Platinum Angel kind of ultimates and stuff.
Right, they'll grind it down.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very much more interested in stuff like Vraska the Unseen putting assassins out that make them lose the game when they attack.
Heck
like
yeah.
that kind of thing is so much closer to what I want to be doing.
Getting in with those assassins is the dream.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so the next question I've got is, what are maybe some weaknesses with this deck that you've run into before?
Weaknesses. Let's see. That's funny that it's hard to that's actually funny that it's hard to consider some. I feel like the first thing that comes to my head is probably just a combo deck that's gonna I'm probably low on the fact that my interaction is so caked into my planeswalkers. Just a fast combo deck will get me, you know, something quick, something snappy, something that's something probably is it. But that's one of my ancient rivals. I started one of the first products I ever bought was Izzet versus Golgari.
Oh yeah.
And so I just kind of assume Izzet combo is gonna be my heal at every point. Because I will fall, I'll fall to a counter spell. Because Carth just puts the planeswalker into my hand. And
Yeah.
a big weakness is I am just tapping 6 whole mana. Like I'm tapping out and I'm just casting this big chunky planeswalker. And if that is stopped, my tempo is pretty righteously hurt. I think the weakness is that I'm a little greedy with the deck, and that I do just kind of want to hard cast a big planeswalker because.
I mean, yeah, that's like what else? That's what we're here for, is to just be hard casting enormous spells.
That is why I'm here.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of, I build my decks in kind of a similar way where I just love including big cost creatures and spells that are expensive. So yeah, turns 5, 6, and 7, I'll just be tapping everything to cast one thing. So yeah, like you said, if somebody counters it, I'm just like, oof, that that feels bad.
You gotta just stomach it. I'm like, well, yeah, this is the flaw of my design, and I gotta take it. I gotta stomach it. I don't like it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I've been thinking about that lately, and I think I just need to include more kind of like protection cards.
For sure.
Just because, yeah, I know a lot of people love to have that like low to the ground kind of fast, like everything's like 3 mana or less type of thing where you're casting multiple spells a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great, but there's just something about like casting Garrick for 7 mana and then being able to like follow it up with a protection spell or something like that. I don't know.
My favorite protection's critical. Absolutely. I've got a Kaya's Ghost Form, which is a 1 mana black enchantment. I can enchant a planeswalker. When that planeswalker dies, it will just return from the graveyard to the battlefield.
Oh yeah.
Just 1 black mana for essentially a second planeswalker cast. Super, super powerful.
That is, that's perfect for this deck.
I'm all looking at my list too. I'm like, how else am I protecting them? It's the fogs. That's how I do it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think fogs are a great way to protect your planeswalkers or your creatures, even like if you have big creatures. And yeah, especially in green when you have access to fogs, I think that's a great way to kind of overcome that weakness. Okay, so the next question I've got is, are there any cards that might just fill kind of generic roles like card draw, mana ramp, or removal that are more kind of like unique to this deck that you'd like to talk about?
Let's see. I think my ramp in Utopia Tree is a little unique. I'm
Mm.
surprised at how few Utopia trees I see, but I extra included it because I was like, well, you know what? Not only does that ramp, but it's got that two butt to protect my planeswalkers.
Yeah.
You never know, they might be sending a 1/1 goblin my way, and I just put a lot of extra emphasis and a lot of I don't know, like value into that two toughness for some reason.
Yeah, I hadn't really realized it until just now, but I really like that a lot of your mana ramp is like creature based, like Birds of Paradise and Lotus Cobra and stuff like that. Just because,
Yeah.
I mean, early game you're like setting yourself up, but you need to have some creatures out to protect your planeswalkers. And yeah, if they help you cast your planeswalkers and then defend them later, that's way better than like a rampant growth or something that is just a spell.
The friends are all coming together. Yes, absolutely. The Lotus Cobra, like, it's not a landfall deck, so Lotus Cobra is not like going crazy or anything, but it's two
Yeah.
mana ramp and it's a blocker, and that snake, my little guardian snake, every little bit counts.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I hadn't really thought about that synergy, but and Lotus Cobra is even better because you don't have to tap it to add the mana, so it's always there for blocking.
Heck yeah. Oh, Sylvan Caryatid is like my
Mm,
Utopia tree duo. That the ramp
nice.
and the protect.
Yes, I really like that. That's kind of exactly what that question was. Is like unique ways your deck does the more kind of boring stuff because I don't know. I just when I'm building like my 12th green deck, I don't want to play like the same 12 ramp cards. So I really like that these ones are more unique and add like extra function to the deck too.
I think a unique way I fog is maybe darkness too. I don't see darkness often. It's just a black fog.
Oh,
It's
nice.
it's literally just the instant spell fog, but it's black, and I never see it. I just don't see it often. But I like my darkness.
Yeah, that one's cool too. This is one of those cards that I bet if it got reprinted in like Commander Legends or something, it would be much easier to attain, and
Oh,
people would play it more.
absolutely. Oh, yep. I think it spiked when a deck list in the past a couple years
Yeah,
in Legacy or another format ended up using darkness just out of nowhere because it was not expensive for a while, but as it goes,
right. Yep, yep. That's kind of that's been a theme lately. But yeah, I always love cards like that where it's not something the color normally does. That's why I always love running like white counter spells. Yeah, darkness in a deck that doesn't have green in it would be very surprising to a lot of people.
That's a pretty cool question though, and that's a really intriguing question. I do wish that would be nice if my more generic spells, Kodoma's Reach and Cultivate, if there was sort of a 3-drop ramp spell that went with the deck a little better, but we'll just have to wait for that, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely it's kind of interesting when you build a deck and play it a lot that there are some like cards that you wish were a slightly different that just don't exist. And I always think I should like make a list of those cards so that I can like DM it to Gavin and be like, okay, these are the things I need for my commander
Right?
decks.
I'm getting real greedy. I'm like, where's my 3-drop ramp card that synergizes with Planeswalkers?
Yeah, it has to be 3 mana, have 5 toughness, and tap for mana somehow, and I need it to exist.
Yeah. Give it cards little +1 Planeswalker build. The second card with that icon on it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah, I haven't put that list together, but maybe I'll start today and just put my proposal forward for those cards. Okay, I'm excited for this next one. Do you have any pet cards in the deck that you just can't resist playing?
Sword Markov. That's the
Mm.
first one to come to my mind, and I call it because people don't like when you make their life 10, and I know they don't like it, but I call it my pet card because I'm gonna do it. I will never cut Sword Markov. I will put your life to 10, and it feels good every single time. I just that's the first one to come to my mind.
Yep. Yeah, I really like Soren Markov. It's just it's one of those things where this card was clearly only intended to be played in formats where your life starts at 20, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I bet if it were printed today, it would say like life total becomes half the starting life total instead.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
I just love that it was printed life total becomes 10. There's something about that that is just chef's
Yes.
kiss.
If I have an Esper deck, I will run that Magister Sphinx. I will put your life to 10.
Mhm.
It feels great because it's like
Yep.
I'm a little sassy with it because I'm like, oh, I'm not killing you. You're still there. You're still
Right.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of funny too. I feel like there are a lot of situations where there will be somebody with maybe like either a life gain deck, or they will just have gotten lucky with some incidental
Oh
life gain.
gosh.
Like there's someone over there with 80 life, I feel like.
Right. The wind is blowing, so therefore they have 89 HP.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
And so having this to be like, oh, you spent all this time like charging up for I want to say Death Star. I can't even remember what the actual name of the card is. Where you spend 50 life to deal 50 damage to someone. I love the idea that you can just play Sorin and immediately -3 to to negate that.
I can do it twice. I broke the design. Not only is this like taking a 3/4 of a life total away. With Carth out, I can do it twice.
So good.
They didn't mean for you to do it 2 times.
Yeah, and I've heard stories about kind of the early days of Commander, around like 2011, 2012, where Sorin Markov was like kind of the like boogeyman of the format, and people actually wanted it banned because of its effect.
I bet. I can see it.
And I haven't really I got into Commander around 2015, so I think by that point it wasn't as scary as it had been, but I always loved the stories that people told of, yeah, turn 6 made my life total 10 and then killed me. Like, I always thought that was so cool.
I love the menaces of ye old.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's really, I feel like in any deck, any average deck, it's not that scary, but honestly, I'd be pretty worried about Sorin in this deck in particular, just because of exactly what you said, that you can do it twice without needing to plus at all.
Mm-hmm. If I resolve Sorin, I decimate someone's life total, and then my life total's protected because they have to get rid of Sorin. They gotta. He's gonna sponge it up because no one wants, like, who's next, and nobody's like me. Like, no, they're gonna kill that guy.
Yeah. I also bet someday you'll have a game where somebody is at like 2 life and you'll use Sorin to actually like keep them alive long enough to take someone else out or something.
I will use Sorin to heal an ally if I need to. Absolutely.
Yeah. So good. All right, so the next question I've got is, what would you say is the MVP of the deck, or the card you think that you want to like get in your hand as fast as possible every game?
I'm so cheesy. I'm so cheap. It's Vorinclex. I want it. I want the double. I want twice the power.
I mean, yeah.
And plus, I am a green player at heart, so just this big, stompy, overpowered BS, just like, why does this card exist, is kind of what this deck is here for.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that, like, the one card I want every game is just not a Planeswalker.
Yeah, that is funny. I think...
Though he does walk planes.
Oh, that's true. That's true. What is Vorinclex doing on call time? We don't know.
I found out recently Vorinclex is like a super doubling season because it does double your Planeswalkers' loyalty counters, where doubling season only doubles the entering loyalty.
Oh. Okay,
So
I don't
it's
think
just
I realized that.
Yeah, it's like this just super battery beat stick of doom. Vorinclex makes me happy. Yeah.
That is cool. So, okay, I can see it now. So the wording is like a little bit different.
Yep, just so slightly.
Wow. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. People who don't have experience with doubling season and Planeswalkers might not like fully see the how kind of broken doubling season is, but it's kind of weird how planeswalkers work. They kind of enter the battlefield, and then the loyalty counters are like put on them. So yeah, then that triggers doubling season, which says if you'd put a counter on a permanent, you actually put twice as many. So they just they kind of like enter with double the amount that they should, which
sometimes sometimes it feels more like a bug than a feature.
Right, yes. Yeah, that's exactly how I've always thought of it. I'm like, is that like I always doubt myself. I'm like, is it really work that way? It just feels like that isn't how that should work. But it totally
Did they
does.
mean that?
Oh man. Yeah, I think it's funny. I'm not sure where I heard it. It might have been in Gavin's YouTube channel or something, but I remember them saying that any planeswalker with green like ever made, they've had to consider how doubling season affects it, which I just think is so funny that the design, like the rules interaction with one card has like warped the future of green planeswalkers.
Right. Now that makes me think it's a bug.
Right. But I bet it feels really good to have that effect.
Oh yeah, the players loved it, and that errata would infuriate. It's this is just how it is now, and I love it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that was so good. Yeah, and totally makes sense that that's the MVP of the deck. I think. Also, just
do I get a second MVP?
Yeah, totally.
7 costs, plane wide celebration, sorcery.
Ooh.
Choose 4. So there's 4 options, and I get to choose the same mode more than once. So I have 4 options here. 3 of them don't matter. I pick the same option every time. I may choose 4. So 4 times I choose proliferate. 7 mana, proliferate, yep. proliferate. It's if Carth is on the battlefield, any planeswalker that exists on my board, that's it. That's it right there. I get this explosive and the flavor of plane wide celebration, and I have like the game day foil. It just feels so perfect. Like it just feels like this explosion of like celebration and victory. And my planeswalkers suddenly all have +4 loyalty, and that's just usually it. That one feels great, and it's hard to overcome.
Yeah, I bet you will be celebrating after casting that with a few planeswalkers out.
I can like see all of them, like my Vraska and my Liliana and Garuk, just like partying in the all. They're like, woohoo!
That card, that seems like the perfect card at a lot of points in the game, actually, since you can return 4 permanents from your graveyard to your hand. So if you need to, you can
that is handy.
Get your stuff back if you've been having to put your planeswalkers in the graveyard.
4/2/2 blockers is no sneezer, right? Too. Yeah. Gaining 16 is not a sneeze either. That's right.
16 life. True. Yeah, I mean that can save you sometimes if you need it.
I got so wrapped up in that proliferate, I just forgot that these other ones are actually awesome too.
Yeah, it seems like there are kind of like 3 modes for if you're setting up still, and then the proliferate mode is definitely like, okay, I'm ready to win the game now, which are both valuable things to have. Yeah, that's a cool MVP. I like that one a lot.
Thanks for giving me 2.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so the next question I've got is, do you have an example of a favorite in-game moment you've had while you've played this deck?
Yeah, 100%. It's a moment I actually have described a couple times because it was quite memorable. I explained it. I auditioned for game nights, and I explained this moment as my audition because it just made me so happy. Okay, so I was playing Carth, and I establish a board position with Carth and Garuk Wildspeaker. 4 costs, Planeswalker Garuk. It's going great for me. Everything's going gravy. I pass my turn. It goes around the table. They don't like my Garuk. They decide we're going to destroy it. They get rid of my Garuk. Garuk is dead. Carth the Lion is still on the battlefield, though, so Carth's ability triggers when Garuk dies. I look at the top 7 cards in my library. And I go searching through the top, and what do I have? What do I see but Garruk again in the form of Cursed Huntsman, the 6-cost Garruk. So I was like, haha, yes, you may have defeated Garruk, but he's angrier now. And he's back, and he's coming for you. So it comes back to my turn, and I cast Garruk Cursed Huntsman. He costs more, he's angrier, he's beefier, he's a problem. And so I passed that turn, and my opponents decide, you know what, this Garruk is still a problem. We're gonna kill him again. I was like, all right, you do what you gotta do. So the table kills my Garruk again. Garruk Cursed Huntsman dies. Carth is still here. I look at the top 7, and I reveal Garruk Apex Predator. The 7-costed Garruk. And I'm like, y'all think you can keep this man down? He just gets pissed. He just gets angrier and angrier. You can't stop him. So I cast Garruk on my next turn just because I had to at that point.
Amazing. That's so good. I think it's so cool that Carth triggers when they die too. It's just like, it's perfect.
It's a dream.
Like,
it's
what?
a dream. It keeps the deck going.
Yeah. Yeah, which actually I bet helps a lot when you're casting like such high mana cost planeswalkers each turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of helps a little bit when you lose one to kind of keep the tempo up, which is it clearly helped in this scenario too.
You can't keep him down. You just can't. I'd love to have that scenario one day where they destroy my 4-cost Vraska Golgari Queen, and then she comes back angrier as Vraska the Unseen. And if they kill her, she comes back even angrier as Vraska Relic Seeker.
Even angrier, and also a pirate now.
And now a pirate, right?
Oh man, that is good. Thank you for sharing that story. I really like that.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Okay, we've made it to my final question for you, which is, what advice would you give to players who maybe are looking to build this deck and are interested in checking it out after hearing us talk about it? Yeah, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be to hit me up. I got you. I have been working on Golgari Planeswalkers in a non-competitive. You can't. I don't think you can quite take this kind of deck to CDH. So I've been working on it in a casual, high-powered way for years now, and not basically. I feel like if anyone else wants to like make this kind of deck, we should collaborate and we should make it as good as it can be.
Nice. I like that.
Be shameless. Get yourself a doubling season at Vorinclex. You won't regret it.
I feel like that's kind of the thing for me. I'm like, if I'm going to get a doubling season, like it has to go in a deck like this. Like probably just this deck. That's just too good. Well, this has been delightful. Thank you so much, Bobbie-Christine, for joining me and letting me ask you a whole bunch of questions about your Carth deck. Yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
I had a blast. Thank you for having wonderful questions, and you've been a delight, and it's been a blast to just geek out for a while. I appreciate it.
It is my favorite way to spend a Saturday morning or afternoon or whatever time it is now. But yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. Do you have any plugs or shout outs or upcoming content that you want to throw out there before we wrap things up?
Just all the stuff I ranted all about in the beginning. Check Your Bulk podcast, Twitch Spell Fables, YouTube Spell Fables. Come hang out in the Lobby-Christine Discord. I'd love to play Commander with you if you're listening to this. Let's play Commander sometime. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you so much for coming on. And I would love to play Commander with you against this Carth deck. I think that would be so much fun. Yeah, let's do it.
Scrap Trawlers this Sunday. All right, that's all.
Sweet. Perfect. Yeah, and so, yeah, again, check out the episode description below for all of the links to those things, as well as the deck list for the deck that we just talked about. If you want to get a hold of me, you can find the Faerie Conclave's links down below. We've got some social medias, and yeah, we're also releasing these on YouTube if you like to listen to podcasts on YouTube. Besides all that, thank you so much for listening and joining, and we will catch you next time.